Hey, I'm Sadie Mae with the Awesome Orange, and this is my biggest DIY to date. So let me show you where we were starting. We had shade, but that was about it. No rain protection, and not so pretty and old. We knew this wasn't going to be an overnight or even a weekend project, so we started doing everything in phases. And for us, phase one was pouring new footers because the patio was going to be 4 feet deeper than the old one. And guess what was there? Cool decking. So out came the concrete saw, the sledgehammers, and a few hot and sweaty days, and we got it all clear. Then after measuring everything about 1 million times, about 1 million ways, the hubby dug the footers, and well, they came out a little too big because I read the plans wrong. Whoops, but better too big than not big enough. We then reinforced the holes with rebar per our plans and pulled string in every direction to ensure everything was in its proper place. And since it was going to take 45 90-pound bags of concrete to fill these footers, we ended up renting a concrete mixer and had to pour the footers in 2 phases. The first pour was pretty easy. We poured it and then we added some rebar that would connect phase 1 to phase 2. For the second pour, I created forms, and the pour on this one was a little more intense because we had to insert the post bases into the concrete and get everything lined up, down, right, left, side to side, and every which way. That's why I really don't have any video of that, but I am glad that we had all those string lines. And speaking of hardware, this brings me to the sponsor of this video and project, Simpson Strong-Tie, the world's leader in structural support solutions. We special ordered all the brackets and had them powder coated in black. This process did take a little bit longer, so keep that in mind if you go with a similar bracket as us, but they were definitely worth the wait. Simpson Strong-Tie does have other brackets in the outdoor accent line that already come standard powder coated, so you might want to check those and see if they work for you before you go the custom route like we did. So what we learned in the concrete phase: it's hard work moving that many 90-pound bags, so get help if you can. Also, reinforce the forms to help prevent bowing. We got a little and didn't even notice it until it was too late. Oh, and buy yourself an edger to get rid of the sharp corners and edges. We didn't have one, so I have to go back and sand those down. Next up was demo day, or days. We cleared everything off the old patio, removing that mesh netting stuff, and then we used some teamwork, brought down all the wood that was surrounding the metal structure. Oh, and speaking of the wood, I did save that wood, and I made a dining room table for the new patio. If you want to see how that turned out, I'll put a link below in the description. And the next day, I finished taking down the structure myself, and boy, did it feel good to see it go. We did a little bit more demo, taking the fascia board off so that we could start cutting into that eave. And then we brushed up on our trigonometry so we knew where to cut the roof back to. We ended up marking the lines, how far back up on the roof we needed to go, and then we used a circular saw and set the depth so it would only go through the shingles and the sheathing and not the trusses. And we used a Demo Demon blade by Diablo, and it cut right through it. Then once all the lines were cut in the roof, we went ahead and just pried those up, each piece one by one. And it was pretty crazy to see the inside of our attic. Now that it's all off, at this point we were just praying for no monsoon rain. Just wait, hold off until we can get this patio done. Next up was marking the tails of the trusses so we knew exactly where to cut them. And once we had them all marked, we went ahead and cut them using a reciprocating saw. That was the best way we could find. It was a weird angle and hard to reach to get in there, but the reciprocating saw worked the best. So we got those off one by one. Well, now we're ready for framing. So I went ahead and picked up the posts and got those sanded down. I didn't want to wait until the crane and the glulam and all that kind of stuff because I just thought this would make it easier. So I got those sanded beforehand, and then we went ahead and got those installed. Installing them was super easy. We used the Simpson Strong-Tie outdoor accent structural wood screws with hex head washers. They were so easy to install, and they gave an awesome look of a bolt connection. Eek, it's crane day! We woke up early to beat the heat. We were all ready to go, or at least we thought that. As the crane and the wood delivery truck were getting all set up in the alley, someone measured the bracket, which was 5.5 inches, and then measured the glulam, and it was only 5 1/8 inch, exactly what I ordered. I just assumed that was a nominal size or the bracket was nominal, but no. They do make glulams in 5 1/8 and 5.5 inches wide. 5.5 inches wide ones are called X-beams. So needless to say, our day was short-lived and we had to send that glulam back. It was pretty disappointing, but definitely a learning experience that I hope you guys don't have to repeat. But on the bright side, we were able to get the rest of the lumber delivered, and I was able to get that sanded, stained what I needed, and so when it did come to installing everything the next time, it would all be ready. And that way I wouldn't have to be on top of a ladder and sanding and staining that way. So hindsight, it actually worked out pretty good. Okay, let's try this again. We got the X-beam this time, so fingers crossed it all works.
Okay, good there.
And it happens so fast, you almost miss it. So I put this in extreme slow-mo, and watch how perfect this X-beam fits right into those brackets. Like a glove. Now that the glulam's installed, we went ahead and put some bracing up just to help keep everything straight up and down, while we then attached or leveled everything, attached the brackets to the posts, and then eventually attached them to the brackets to the glulam. Next up was attaching the joists to that header beam, the glulam, and to the top of the house. So we made a little jig, and in hindsight we could have made this jig better, but it did work out. It basically set the width of the joist so we could get the joist hangers installed into the beam first, and then go ahead and set the joist inside those hangers. And once the joist was attached to the beam, we went ahead and connected it to the roof using some more Simpson Strong-Tie fasteners on both sides of the joist. And then we repeated the process. And all in all, from crane time to the last joist being installed, it was only 4 hours with 4 people. A really good day, and we were really excited when it was over.
2.
Even Oscar was excited. We're going cabinet to get a new patio. Up next was more sanding. So luckily the joists had all been sanded on the ground before we got them installed. So I just needed to do a little touch up to them, and then I sanded the glulam down. I also at this point got everything clear coated. So I used General Finishes Exterior 450. I did 2 coats on all the joists and the beam and the posts. Up next was roofing. So we laid out where we were going to be putting the purlins, and the purlins are what we're going to be attaching the corrugated metal roof to, so we can screw them down. We also added some flashing in the front and in the valleys in between the roof, the new roof and the old roof. Then one by one we installed each roofing panel, and as we did that we put some foam corrugated strips and sealant between them and the roof so that it would help prevent water from blowing back up into the attic. And for the transition from the old roof to the new roof, we tucked a piece of metal that had a break in it for our desired pitches under the old shingles on one side and on top of the new corrugated metal on the other. Once that was done, it was time to close up the attic space underneath. I did this by installing 3/4-inch pine shiplap boards vertically. I cut holes in most of them and put some wire mesh or bird block behind it. This was for ventilating the attic, which basically means the attic stays cooler, which keeps our house cooler. I finished off this section by adding a trim piece at the bottom, so it would be the transition between the vertical shiplap and the block wall. Then after some caulking, it was time for paint. I spray painted the wire mesh parts and then brushed on the other parts. I do eventually want to paint the entire house, but until then I taped this part off. And then we added a light fixture. I love these. And we hung back up our string lights with the help of Awesome Oscar. And now we have a patio that is ready to be enjoyed. Remember, this is where we started. And this is what we have now. There's still a ton I'd like to do, but for now, we have an awesome patio. And again, I want to thank Simpson Strong-Tie because the brackets are definitely the star of the show and are what I get the most compliments on. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more DIY projects and building awesome adventures. Have an awesome day!